All right, so hello everyone. Welcome if you are new to the channel. Welcome back if you love me. I love you too. We are here for the full moon in Leo, and we're going to be getting into the Rebel Legacy themed reads. There's going to be 4 different readings, and you guys can decide now which one you think you resonate to. They are Prometheus, Joan of Arc, Martin Luther King Jr., and Demeter, also known as Ceres. Okay, before I get into those reads, I am going to be going over a quick transit breakdown. And there will be timestamps in the comments and the description afterwards so that you guys can fast forward to wherever you want to be inside the reading once the premiere is done. Okay. I will say this is going to be a members only video as of the end of the night tonight. Okay, so if you don't catch it while it's live or within the first, several hours after it premieres, it will be members only after. They will be the ones able to view the replay anytime they want. All right, so if you are not a member, a Pineapple Patron, a Divine Rebel, or a Soul Star, you will not be able to catch this replay unless you join, which I do hope you join us. We have a wonderful soul family. So I'll be doing intention candles too, by the way, after I get done from work, after I'm home. So everybody who bought intention candles and is a Divine Rebel or better will have access to the lighting of those candles and the updates as they burn over the next several days. All right, so getting into these transits. The full moon in Leo, we have 2 major square points. The first one, I'm going to use my lovely Dreamer Apothecary pen to point. The first one, we have Mars conjunct Mercury in Capricorn, and that is squaring the nodes. All right, North node is with Chiron, and South node is down there in Libra, okay? And we're getting this cardinal square from Mars and Mercury. The second square point is Jupiter, and that is T-squaring the full moon itself. All right, the sun being with Pluto. So the primary square, right, and the more exact square at that is from Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is in the 12th house in Taurus as of the exact time of this full moon in CDT time zone. Okay, so it might need minor adjusting depending on where you are in the world, but you get the general gist of the energy. All right, Jupiter in Taurus. Some may kind of describe it as mundane philosophy. You may find yourself inside your own subconscious contemplating the more spiritual side of life. You have a strong desire for abundance, right? On a personal level, people are going to be feeling that strong desire for abundance, this want or need of plenty or more or comfort, right? And the wisdom that gets you to that point, it's a very spiritual place, right? Coming to that sense of contentment. But it's being challenged. It's being challenged by this full moon and creating challenges to this full moon. So the sun with Pluto conjunct in Aqua is about the true transformation of the identity of the self and pride and a sense of control when it comes to the home front. Okay, because we're talking about a 10th house, 4th house polarity with the full moon. So who we are, our identity, and separation from our spirituality and how that manifests as control inside our very personal lives is where this challenge is taking place, because we can't achieve that contentment. We can't achieve that abundance if who we believe we are and portray ourselves to be in separation from the divine is creating conflict in our personal lives, right? We have to kind of rework in a very deep digging kind of way who we think we are, right? And what is important and what truly is control. Because if you're constantly trying to control what is going on in the reality, and the reality is spiritual, and you're looking at it from a mundane perspective with logic or reason, or coming from a place of wanting to be powerful, right, and have everything go smoothly the way your mind, your ego wants it to be, you're going to find yourself at a loss. All right, because spirit, the divine, Jupiter being in the 12th house, it kind of has the upper hand in the reality right now. Okay, so whatever you think you have under control, you don't have under control. All right, there's going to be some serious humbling that comes along with this. You know, the moon and Jupiter can want a life of luxury and status. And if you're being challenged by the high authority of the divine perspective of things, if the divine is making you wildly uncomfortable in order to transform that way of being and perceiving, you're going to run into not just blocks, but losses. Okay, because Pluto, it doesn't know what limitations are. Pluto knows no bounds and will go to any lengths necessary to transform. Okay, and right now it's transforming the identity of the self on a very collective level. This full moon forward, things are not going to be the same. You are not going to be the same. Society is not going to be the same. Humanity is not going to be the same. There is going to be what feels like a complete lack of control and authority over your own life. All right. The feelings of wanting to control and dictation might be at an all-time high. And the more you try and control it, the more you try and dictate the reality of things in order to feel abundant, whether that's anything from hoarding to overspending, right? I got it in control. I can do this. I can do that. More is coming in, like no problem. You're going to be met with high divine resistance. Anything you think you can hoard, you're not going to be able to meet the levels that you would desire to meet. Anything that you spend luxuriously, trying to create a false sense of abundance, is going to backfire. So please keep that in mind. The square with Mars and Mercury to the nodes. Now, the north node's with Chiron. All right. Mars and Mercury conjunct in Capricorn, coming from the 9th house, which is Jupiter's natural house. Okay. You're going to want to really think about, right, Mercury, really think about and communicate with your actions, right? Mars is action. You're going to want to communicate with your actions after really thinking about what it is you want to invest in. Because you can't move forward with this victim mentality or martyring of the self-sacrifice type vision. You know, there is no such thing as having goals to martyr and sacrifice the self. Chiron is a wounded belief system about the self. And this is, you know, our inability to invest in what we want to invest in for the sake of peace, right? The South Node being in Libra is erasing the need, the karmic need for peace. You know, it could be something as simple as, you know, being in a job like the military, right? We're talking Aryan energy. Maybe you're involved in the military, but not actually believing in being a part of the war going on, right? But you're called to duty and you've got to fight for your country. Well, in order to keep the peace in your life, or, you know, whatever, that not so harmonious dynamic between you and country and the country that you serve, you may be challenged to invest your energy via actions to not be a victim of that choice, right? You might actually need to invoke your inner rebel and decide that this is not what you want to do, even if that means dishonorable discharge, right? Because you don't actually agree with or feel good about partaking in, you know, this particular war as a scenario. It could be the fact that you work for a company that creates, you know, things for the military, like maybe you make guns or make aircraft or make, you know, things that the military uses, but you don't actually want to participate anymore in the making of these things because it goes against how you feel about what is going on over there, right, on the other side of the world. So there might be a lot of different things going on. You might need a career change, right? Because this is where your philosophy, your inner wisdom is being challenged by the very real victim mentality and keeping the peace. Because maybe you don't want to leave your job. Maybe you don't want to leave the military. Maybe you would upset a lot of people. Maybe you would be losing money, you know, but it's a matter of being good with your own self and your own choices, and knowing that when you step into that alignment with what feels good, that the universe will create more feel-good experiences, as opposed to being a victim of circumstance and feeling like you have to move forward and invest in something that you don't philosophically believe in, you know. That's going to be the major challenge. And it could pertain to personal relationship dynamics as well. Like maybe you're in an intimate connection with someone and you're not happy, but you stay with them in order to keep life as is, you know, and not cause any chaos or disturb the peace, right? And so you stay and invest in a dynamic that you feel you're sacrificing yourself in, martyring yourself in to your own detriment, just so that you don't cause commotion or disrupt, you know, other people's expectations of what life is going to be, you know, continuing to pursue the same path. So there are certain connections that we may have previously gotten along with in a past life, or, you know, even earlier in this one, that are not conducive to who you are now and what you're creating now. And so there are certain challenges arising in that regard. Like you're really going to have to decide who you want to be and then take actions accordingly, right? We need to be able to heal the self, show compassion for the self, and let our relationship dynamics meet us in alignment with that, as opposed to the other way around. Okay. Now, the beneficial energy coming from this full moon, we have Saturn at 5 degrees Pisces, sextiling Venus in Capricorn, and Uranus here in Taurus. Okay. Uranus? No, I'm looking at the blue circle as Jupiter. All right, so sextile to Jupiter and Venus, and Jupiter and Venus are in trine. Okay, so they're having a divine conversation. All right. Now Saturn, because, you know, Saturn in Pisces is the order of the divine, is the order of the one soul who is constantly swimming in two directions, right? Whether it's choosing fear or choosing love, right? That is the Piscean duality, fear state and love state, not knowing which one to choose all the time. So when we're talking about Jupiter and Saturn and sextile, and Saturn and Venus and sextile with this beautiful trine between, you know, Venus and Jupiter, it's reminding you that the divine order of things is what truly does bring in the abundance. When you invest in your highest good visions of success and what abundance truly looks like, not just on a financial level, although with the earth energy, it's very prominent, not just what a secure, stable, abundant life looks like, but the spiritual order that gets you there. You know, you may need to restrict yourself in some way now in order to open yourself up big time later. All right, the other trine going on is from Uranus to the Mercury-Mars conjunction. Now, this whole full moon, it's Uranus rising. It is Uranus rising, which is putting a great deal of emphasis on the transformation of the self here, because, you know, the Sun and Pluto being in Aquarius, that's Uranus's natural home. Okay, so it's putting a great deal of emphasis there. And the trine to Mars and Mercury is asking you to radically change your reality, to take radical actions from a place of radical thought and higher perspective, understanding the highest good of everyone, whether you can see how it's going to work out or not. You know, because Uranus technically being in the 12th house and rising, you can't see how that divine perspective is going to benefit you and enlighten you, right? Being the house of wisdom that Mars and Mercury are in, how that action to invest in radical change and shift just because it is more in alignment with your soul, you can't see how that's actually going to benefit you. So taking these actions really is like hardcore leap of faith. Trusting that if you do things in alignment with your soul and your soul's integrity and your own spiritual moral compass, that it's going to pay off in dividends, especially as, you know, time progresses and Jupiter starts to conjunct Uranus. You're going to start to see that kind of stuff. All right, Venus is going to catch up to it around April and May, you know, so we're going to see huge blessings coming in Taurean energy once Venus works its way around. But as of right now, right, the full moon is calling for big release, right? Full moons are all about release in order to meet a new clean slate. When we reach the new moon, a new clean slate for creation. And so, you know, moving forward with these transits, if you feel like you have to make a more restrictive choice and sacrifice, you know, your fears, you have to truly sacrifice your fears so that you don't martyr the self, right? And sacrifice the soul, because, you know, this Chiron North node in Aries is 12th house driven. You cannot sacrifice your soul for luxury. You cannot sacrifice your soul for money. You cannot sacrifice your soul for power. Those who do that are going to end up Schitt's Creek. Those who are trying to dictate and rule with an iron fist and trying to control everything from a place of ego and a place of power and all that shit, they're going to get fucking hammered as time progresses. The eclipse coming up in April is going to fucking nail them. Okay. So even if you have to make the hard choice, if it goes against your soul to choose otherwise, then make the hard choice. All right. Make sure that you're in alignment with what it is that feels right in your soul. That if you left this earth tomorrow, you would pass away in peace because you didn't want to leave with a sense of burden or guilt or regret or shame or anything like that tied to your energy, right? That if your soul were to meet the scales of judgment, that your soul would be as light as a feather, right? That's the whole point of this transit, to make sure that you're choosing an alignment. Those who don't choose an alignment, it's going to be exceptionally difficult, because Pluto is a hard teacher. Pluto's a really hard teacher. If you don't rewrite the identity of the self from a place of power and control to try and keep the peace in your world, the collective energy of things is going to disrupt it, potentially quite violently, with Mars, Mercury. Okay. So I'm just putting that out there. You really have to be in alignment with the integrity of the soul, or you're going to face, consequences of that. All right. And that is the transits. Radical shift and change, radical new ideas, radical choice points in alignment with the higher self is really what is going to pay off in the long run. And quite frankly, even the immediate future, because even if the divine needs to take some time to adjust for the situation, because you've gone through a huge energetic shift, even if the divine needs to kind of start moving pieces around for you and it takes a little while, once it clicks into place, it's going to be like the ball's rolling, So trust and faith in your higher self. All right. With that, let's get into the first reading. If you picked Prometheus. Now, if you're not familiar with Prometheus, our divine rebel, Prometheus for reading 1, Prometheus was the individual that rebelled against Zeus and the gods of Olympus in order to bring fire to humans, because he felt that Zeus's treatment of humans was unjust, and he wanted to see humans thrive. And so he literally went to Olympus and stole the fire of the gods in order to give it to man, so that they would not be stuck in a very primitive, animalistic type of state, right? So that they can evolve and grow. And so if you resonated with Prometheus, you are quite a rebel. Let's see what this full moon is bringing in for you. What insight for those who are drawn to Prometheus? What insight can the divine give them in their highest good? What do they need to know that would serve their highest good? What insight, please, Spirit? And once I get a feel for these cards, I'm going to face them towards me initially, but I'll turn them around and face them towards you guys so that you can see the cards once I get a good feel for their energy. Okay. What is going on? What insight, please, for Prometheus? And one more. Okay. Bottom of the deck is the Ten of Wands. Top of the deck is the Five of Chalices. Now, the Five of Chalices on top is sadness or grieving in regards to certain karmic connections and feeling that burden, right? That it's kind of all on you to provide whatever it is spiritually speaking, right? In order to make others feel less of a burden to their own selves, right? That you would take on the karmic healing of other people. An example would be, you know, if someone is lazy and has no work ethic, you work yourself to the ground in order to make enough money to support you both so that they don't feel like they have to work, right? When really they need to achieve some kind of work ethic and contribute, right? Putting it all on you in order to provide. And that's their cross to bear, right? Not yours. It could also be someone who has, you know, some serious psychological issues and you feel bad leaving them. And so you stay because you don't want to abandon them, when really they have to learn that behaving in that way is what causes people to leave them, right? Their resistance to change and healing is what creates the disconnect, and staying anyway to prove that they're lovable when they're not taking lovable actions would be the 10 of Wands type burden. Okay, so we're definitely feeling the sadness or the grievance, dealing with karmic energy and how much it actually weighs on you. Now, we have the Empress, clarified by the 7 of Pentacles in the reverse. We have the 3 of Swords, clarified by the Devil. That would definitely be that Libran Capricorn square with the nodes, right? South node. We also have the Queen of Chalices, clarified by the King of Swords. The Star card, clarified by the World card in reverse. And the Prince of Chalices, clarified by Judgment. Okay. With this energy, I think you are very aware of the fact that what you're receiving is not good enough, and that you deserve to receive your highest manifestation. All right, the Empress is high receptivity, high alignment, where you receive your best vision, right? Where the dream becomes the reality. With the 7 of Pentacles in the reverse, it's letting go of this idea that there's nothing you can do, right? That you have to wait for a future time when things are more in alignment with your goal, right? Like, I can't leave this person because I don't have enough money to leave them right now. And really, money might not be the issue. Maybe you just simply have to choose it first and then kind of let the solutions open up because you've already chosen to solve the problem, right? Once you accept that for every problem there is a solution, and you let go of the problem, the solution starts to reveal itself. So I think this is what this energy is right here, recognizing that you deserve to have the fruits of what it is you want to manifest, and not get stuck in this idea that you can't have it yet, right? That you've got to wait for something in the future. And so long as you wait for that something in the future, you're going to experience more pain, right? With the 3 of Swords and the Devil card, right? Trying to keep the peace and not disturb things. I feel like that restrictive energy, that cutting energy is kind of like, you know, looking at the thorns and how they're like barbed wire around this couple. It's almost like the barbed wire getting tighter and tighter the more you choose to stay in it. So it's going to be really uncomfortable in staying in something that is not in alignment with you and causing you sadness in some way. You're going to have to jump into this Queen of Cups energy, King of Swords energy that feels very deeply, right? Really cares and is empathic and compassionate towards who you are with, but that you ultimately need to detach and see the higher perspective of things, right? It is not your job to carry their crosses. It is not your job to hang yourself on that cross so that they don't have to. You know, the star card with the world in reverse is knowing that, you know, things that are meant for you, that are divinely aligned to be with you, for you, can heal and come back, right? Just because you're leaving today doesn't mean you're leaving forever. Maybe you will reconnect with said person at a later time after the healing is taking place, right? Because it's not a closed chapter. The world card being in reverse means it's still open, it's still continuing. You know, the story hasn't reached a grand finale yet. You know, we haven't written the end of the book. We're writing chapters. You know, if you got to go on a journey or they got to go on a journey of healing, you guys will come back into alignment with each other at a later date. Okay. The Prince of Chalices with the Judgment card is about holding compassion when you make that call, right? Knowing that you've got to move forward, knowing that if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and you're going to trust what you can't see, right? That this person, whatever they're attached to you with, right? Whatever crutch energy you've been, they need to be able to learn to walk on their own and stand on their own without you being a crutch, right? And so it's holding compassion for them and communicating love when you make this judgment call, okay? That you know that even if it sucks being apart, it's going to be more painful and continue to be more painful the longer you persist in it. You have to let it go, right? That devil with the 3 of Swords is excruciating, and you can't stay no matter how much you love or care about something. You've got to know that you can come back together at a later time once certain things have healed. So what is the guidance, please, Spirit, for those who resonated to Prometheus? What guidance? Yeah, wake up call. You are about to discover your life purpose. That is card number 19. Okay. Wake up call. Your life's path is no accident. Every experience, relationship, heartache, and hardship serves a purpose. Each one causes you to grow on a soul level and evolve into your true self. Your life purpose is not just about what kind of work you do either. It's about who you are as a whole person. It is about how you relate to the world and how the world relates to you. It's also about the journey itself. If you are suppressing your soul's growth or journey in any way, the universe will throw you a wake-up call sooner or later. Despite what you feel at the time you are going through this, it is ultimately a beautiful gift, but only if you stop resisting change and let your life evolve into one of purpose and meaning. The wake-up call can come in many forms: illness, layoff, depression, loss, financial crisis, divorce, any challenges that call for you to listen to your truth. Your challenges are a part of the growth process, reminding you to stop living your life sleepwalking and worried about materialistic or meaningless things. Wake up and live your best life. Embrace love, deep, meaningful relationships, and what matters to you most from a soul perspective. It is time to face your challenges head on and allow the universe to move you in a new direction. The intuitive life coaching questions that it poses to you What challenges are you currently facing that you might be resisting? In what ways are you resisting them? Do you feel this is happening for a higher reason? And if so, what could that reason be? You know, it's a major shift in identity, right? We're dealing with Saturn, right? Knowing it's not over, knowing that the abundance of Jupiter and Venus is there, right? Dealing with Capricorn energy in square to the Libran South Node, and knowing that that Pluto with the Sun is that call that needs to be made in order to show compassion to the self. You know, it's really important. So this energy on the whole, especially because this is kind of resonating to the Jupiter energy, really understanding that you can live your best life when you let go of your struggle and your challenged, stressful, burdensome life, right? That you can let go of the version of yourself that feels the need to sacrifice and martyr and feel dead inside in order to achieve a life that actually is worth living, you know. So if you resonated to the reading Prometheus, expect big changes that are ultimately in your highest good. Okay, even if it doesn't feel that way immediately, know, trust, and believe that it is all working out in your highest good and the highest good of all involved, even if you can't see how that is yet. Okay. The next secret code name reading or themed reading, I'm so used to secret code names. The next themed read is Joan of Arc. So if you resonated to Joan of Arc, if you don't know who she was a young woman who is known for being inspired by God, right? That she was getting orders from God in order to save France, and she was successful. We still have France here today. You know, Joan of Arc led an army and successfully fought back those that were trying to invade and take over and conquer France, you know. So Joan of Arc is quite a rebel. She was a woman, and it was unheard of to even have women in the military at the time. And yet she was a young woman. I believe she was in her teens and leading the military, right? And claiming that the choices that she was making and the calls that she was making were divine orders from God. You know, and the French king at the time trusted her, and she wasn't wrong. You know, she wasn't wrong. So if you resonated to Joan of Arc, this is for you. Spirit, please, what insight do we need to know about those who have resonated to the reading Joan of Arc? Mind you guys, I'm going to lay all the cards out facing me at first just so I can get a quick feel for them, and then I'll adjust them so that they're facing you and you can see what they are. Okay. What else for Joan of Arc and those who have been drawn to it? Okay, clarities, please. Okay. Bottom of the deck is the Hanged Man. Top of the deck is the Seven of Wands. This is an energy of defending the self with the Seven of Wands. Trying to keep your emotions out of it. Because as you can see in this card, let me get my Make My Camera focus board. They're trying to keep the floodwaters out. Right. They're trying to keep the floodwaters from getting in. They're creating a barricade. Okay. And I feel like you're doing your damnedest to keep your emotions at bay because you're trying to see spiritually why everything is happening the way it's happening. You might even feel like you're frozen in place because not only is this figure upside down, he's literally got ice melted over his legs. So he couldn't even try and, move them or wiggle free if he wanted to. I feel like you're trying to suppress or bury what you're feeling. And I think the reason that you're trying to bury it or suppress it is because it's not for anybody else to see so much as it's for you to see and understand, right? For you to take the time to go through why you're feeling what you're feeling. Because we have the Strength card, right? Clarified by the Six of Chalices. And so you might feel like dealing with a soulmate is like fighting a bull, right? Because this particular Strength card, the figure, the masculine energy, which is the mind or the yang, is fighting the bull. He's got it by the horns and trying to tame the bull, but the bull is pissed. It's not having it. It's meeting him with extreme resistance. And it's a sacred soulmate that you've had felt connected to for lifetimes, right? Someone from a past life who is very familiar to you. Someone that you may have been involved with for a very long time. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic soulmate. It can be someone that's, part of your family, But the more you fight them, the angrier or the more frustrated or the more resistant and stubborn they get. We also have the World card clarified by the Eight of Pentacles, which is, for me, it's like double Saturn energy because the 8 is all about due diligence and work. It's also very Virgoian, and the World is fixed energy. And so you may be needing to close this cycle of hard work when it comes to this connection, right? Loving connections are not, they're not meant to be hard. Loving connections are meant to flow with ease. And so you may need to literally stop putting in so much work in order to keep someone in line or in check and stop fighting them, right? Stop the battle. We also have the Two of Coins reversed, clarified by the Three of Swords, and this is the choice point in the reality that is saying like someone is not reciprocal. Someone is not putting in what you need them to put in or want them to put in. They're not matching your energy. The ideal is not real. It's imbalanced, right? For all of the energy and work you're putting in, someone else isn't putting in nearly as much. And we have the Six of Swords in the reverse, clarified by the Empress. You think if you stay, you're going to eventually get the payout, right? That's what you're hoping for. That's what you're visualizing. That if you stay inside this desolate, barren place that's not thriving, that you're going to end up thriving. And that's just not the case. We've got the Seven of Pentacles here, with the Knight of Pentacles, which means it is so slow. The Seven of Pentacles is about rewards not yet reaped. It's not yet reaped, right? The fruit is not ripe enough to sell. It's not ripe enough to eat and be nourished with. It's not ripe. And the Knight of Pentacles is super, super slow. You're dealing probably with someone who has really strong fixed energy, possibly Taurian energy, who is unwilling to change. And you know what, to be fair, with the Uranus and Jupiter placements in Taurus right now and the different challenges going to that energy, they may need the wake-up call, you know, that it's not fair and that it being not fair is not right. Like, both people have to be benefiting equally from the dynamic. It can't be one way. It can't be one person puts in 90 and the other person puts in 10 and the other person's receiving 90 while the one putting in the 90 is only receiving 10. Like, it's not fair, you know? So you're trying to keep your emotions at bay. You're trying to maintain control. You're trying to fight this brick wall of an energy, and it hurts. The fact that it's not fair hurts. That Three of Swords and the imbalance of the Two of Coin hurts. You know it's not fair, but you can't just keep enduring it. You know, you can't just stay in it and think it's all going to be all right. If it works out, it might work out faster if you let it go. Or rain check your own self in and meet them where they're at. Like, if they're only putting in 10, then only put 10 in for them. Give the other 90 to yourself. You know? And allow the dynamic ship to flip, because it's going to take this person a while. You might need to communicate your need for stability. You might need to communicate the fact that things are not fair. You might need to communicate the fact that you deserve to enjoy your life too. And that they can either step up, or they're going to force you to start considering what it would be like to step out. You know, if they're not going to give you a better choice, but you're not going to continue to do this unfair 90-10, 80-20 type dynamic ship where you're getting the short end of the stick and you're not able to enjoy your life because you're the one putting in all of the work, all of the effort, and someone else isn't contributing or reciprocating. Right. Acknowledging the fact that you're being taken for granted and or being taken advantage of. Truly. So what is the guidance, please, Spirit, for those who were drawn to Joan of Arc? But truly, you might really need to fight the good fight and listen to your inner guidance system, right? Listen to Spirit, who is telling you, like, this doesn't feel good. Choose an alignment with what feels good and what feels right, you know, for yourself. We'll see what the guidance has to say. Spiritual gifts. You are in the process of developing and fine-tuning your spiritual gifts. You can listen to Spirit. You're intuitive. You can have empathy and feel what another is feeling, to understand them. But that does not mean because you understand them that you have to force trying to fix them. You can understand via empathy and intuition what they need to fix and recognize that that is also their job, their work to put in, and not yours, right? So card number 8. Spiritual gifts. It says you are learning to trust and integrate your spiritual gifts in your own daily life. And you can also use your spiritual gifts when working with others. Your gifts could be clairvoyance, which is extrasensory seeing, clairaudience, which is extrasensory hearing, energy healing, intuitive knowing, seeing auras, and many others. Be gentle with yourself during this process. Remember that developing your spiritual gifts does not involve thinking more or relying on your intellect. If you find yourself trying to figure things out intellectually, you could be blocking your spiritual progress. This card comes to you today to remind you that using your sixth sense is a natural ability. It is not something you have to work at. It is simply something you have to allow and trust. Trust, meditation, and patience are the key ingredients when working with and developing your spiritual gifts. As you naturally allow and trust the process to unfold, more and more information will be revealed to you. Anytime you are trying too hard, you are not in the flow of receiving. But rest assured, even the most experienced people second guess their abilities to receive divine information from time to time. If you are frustrated with your ability to develop your spiritual gifts or to use your gifts to help others, it is time to call on your higher self and ask for help with letting go of overthinking the process. Put your faith in divine knowing and timing. The intuitive life coaching questions it poses to you. How could you be blocking the flow of divine guidance when it comes to developing your spiritual gifts? What do you feel your spiritual gifts are? And how would you like to use them? Right? If you were guided to Joan of Arc had clairaudience, right? She literally was hearing the divine tell her things. You know, if you have clairvoyance, which is clear seeing, or claircognizance, which is clear knowing, you know, or clairaudience, right? If you can see auras, or you just have this ability within you that you know can heal other people, then what you're working on learning is how to use it. How to use it not just for your highest good, but the highest good of everybody. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is by not resisting the fact that you're being pinged, right? That you're being intuitively guided, that you are getting these, you know, downloads of information from a higher source point, and that you have to trust it, right? Kind of like Joan of Arc, like she was getting these divine downloads from spirit and needing to trust it, even if it didn't make any sense. Even if it didn't make any sense to do what she was being guided to do with her orders. You know, she had to trust that if she listened, it was going to work out. The divine did not fail her. It's not going to fail you either. So really learn how to trust yourself and your ability to co-create with the divine moving forward, because that's going to be the big thing for you. You know, if you were spirit who loved you unconditionally, how would you teach you to heal? How would you teach you to use your spiritual gifts in the highest good? Would it make you wildly uncomfortable in unfair situations when all you really want is to live a life that is in fact fair, that is ideal, and want that ideal life, that ideal healing for other people as well, right? That nobody would have to hold back or resist or overwork themselves in order to make life beautiful. Use your spiritual gifts. Really fine-tune them. Go within and ask the divine, ask your spirit guides, guardians, angels, higher self for help. Because that's what you're being guided to, right? You're being guided to listen. That's why the Hanged Man energy is here. This is a divine pause. in order to see things from the divine's perspective. And if you're holding back your feelings and trying to keep your feelings from interfering, then you might want to pay attention to your feelings and why they're there in the first place. You know, that is secret code name Joan of Arc. Yeah, the way you're doing things is not achieving the result that you want. Using logic or intellect is something that you have to do via divine guidance in order to heal it or correct it, right? Whatever the problems are. All right. Moving on. Reading Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. and those who are drawn to this reading. Most of you guys should know who Martin Luther King is, or at the very least, his I Have a Dream, right? That he is known for, that speech he gave about I Have a Dream, where he was talking about putting aside, perceived differences and working together without hate in our hearts just because we're not visually the same. That you are not judged based on the color of your skin, but the quality of your character. He was a divine rebel. And his legacy was that of a rebel, which is why he was chosen for these readings. This is about having a vision of harmony and equality and integrity. To hold yourself in the vibration of integrity and treat everyone the way you would want to be treated. It's the epitome of the golden rule. These are just meat suits we're wearing. It has nothing to do with who we are on the inside. So, Spirit, please, what insight would you give those who resonated to secret codename Martin Luther King Jr.? Now, I'm going to face the cards towards me initially just so that I can get a good feel on the energy, and then I'll face them towards you so that you can see them the way I saw them, okay? Yeah, the King of Wands, vision. King of Wands is a master visionary. What else, please, Spirit? What else? All right, clarities, please. Okay, give me one more. Bottom of the deck is the Five of Swords. Top of the deck is the Nine of Pentacles. Now, the Nine of Pentacles is all about sovereignty and reaping the reward or the wish in your reality for all of the efforts that you have put forth, right? It's a very independent, manifester kind of energy. The bottom of the deck is the Five of Swords, though, which could be honestly other people wanting what you have and trying to take it by force, right? Not liking that you're in the energy that they want to be in and aren't, right? So there might be envy or power struggles, tete-a-tetes, right? Ego versus ego, people trying to get inside your energy space and cause corrupt or invasive connection to you, that they might be trying to take what you have or thwart what you have or what you're creating because they want it and haven't learned how to create it for themselves. It kind of reminds me of that meme that we see where there's like these two little stick figures and the one character is saying, how did you get that? And the other one is holding like a jar of happiness and he says, I made it myself. You know, it's kind of like that, but on the dark end, right? They're like, how did you get that, right? That happiness, that sovereignty, how did you get that? And you're like, I made it myself. And they're like, well, I want it. But instead of learning how to make it themselves, they're trying to take it from you. Okay. Looking at the cards. I've got the King of Wands with the Nine of Swords. You'll know because Master Visionary, right? Whatever you see going on in your third eye is the result of the current energy at play. So you might be seeing the nightmare state of other people, the anxiety of other people, the lack mentality of other people, and how they want to take it from you. All right, you might actually be able to see that in your mind's eye, right? In your third eye, you might actually be able to see that worst case scenario in advance of it happening. And I say that because we get the Seven of Pentacles in the reverse with the High Priestess in the reverse. And the High Priestess is secretive and intuitive. But in this case, with it in reverse, I believe it's really, really clear. And it's the inability for others to be patient and put in the work, right? The Seven of Pentacles is about having to be patient because the fruit's not ripe yet. In order to enjoy it, you have to be patient and kind of let time and nature do its thing. There's not actual, hard work that needs to be done. The work is patience in and of itself. And you might see the impatience of other people really clearly. They might not even be keeping it a secret. They might be kind of hinting at it, if not telling you directly outright, and your ability to take it for what it is, to see it for what it is. We get the Tower in the reverse with the Chariot, and that is a major dodging the bullet type energy, right? The Tower in the reverse is dodging a bullet, and the divine within you moving you away from whatever that threat energy is. You might be having this tree with your fruit, just patiently waiting for the harvest or collecting the harvest, and someone is literally trying to bring in the lightning to destroy it, right? Because there's the tree on the card here with the apples, but they're still green. They're not red yet. And then in here, in this card, the lightning is striking the tree. But you're nowhere to be seen, right? You've already taken off from that energy because your feminine energy, your intuition saw really clearly, and you decided to stay inside your light and essentially escape this energy. Now, we also have the Princess of Wands in the reverse with the Knight of Chalices in the reverse. And to me, because the Princess of Wands, there's a letter here. And the prince never came, right? Or the prince came early, left the letter, and she's looking like, where are you? Like, where is my prince? They're gone. So you may literally be leaving behind some kind of communication that lets another know you are moving in a different direction away from them as fast as you can, right? In so many words, and you're not necessarily being charming about it. You know, the Knight of Cups in the reverse is not kind, right? And the upright, the Knight of Cups, is very charming, is very compassionate, is holding space emotionally for the person that he's talking to, right? It's very love oriented, right? And it's a very solid, loving communication. It's sincere, where the Knight of Cups in the reverse is insincere and or does not hold love and compassion, and is not sorry that they're not there, right? Is not sorry that, you know, they're walking away from the battle, so to speak, right? An unwillingness to fight. And that is an inner union type energy with the Lovers card that others with the Justice card in reverse feel is unfair. It's unfair. So I will say this: if you're going to dodge the bullet and move divinely forward, I would leave communications with the Knight of Cups in the upright if you can. You know, in order for it to feel like it's closed, because when things feel unjust, you get spiritual hunters, right? Because now not only do you have what they want, you got away with it, and now they're coming after you for it. That would be the follow-up energy. So if you don't want them chasing you or following after you, like these two figures on the card are doing, right? This guy has their back turned and the other two people have walked around and turned around and they're injured, right? This one's holding their shoulder. This one's kind of hunched over, but they're both wielding swords and they're following right behind you. So if you leave without compassion, when your character, your integrity of self is compromised, when you don't treat others with the respect that you would want to be treated with, it creates injustice. It creates an imbalance in the soul, and people seek the justice. So if anything, you know, you find yourself leaving a situation or not wanting to fight with somebody, you can move forward. You don't have to, you know, take the hit, so to speak. You can dodge the bullet, but make sure that you're not cocky about it. Make sure that you're not snarky or condescending about it. You know, leave them with a sense of, you know, you have faith in them, that they're capable, that with some patience and with some time and with some work and effort in the right direction, that they can achieve exactly what you achieved. And there is enough happiness to go around. You know, there's enough abundance to go around, and that you wish them nothing but the best in their pursuit of sovereignty. You know, you wish them nothing but the best in their pursuit of abundance, in their pursuit of happiness, that you have faith in them that they could do it, you know, but that you are moving in a new direction right now, and that they probably won't be hearing from you or seeing from you that much, you know, because you know they don't have your highest good at heart. You know they're trying to take what you have, but just because you were able to get away and essentially win the battle does not mean that you have to continue the spiritual war between you and them. You know, you can release it with love instead, right? And hold a dream that all will heal, and that you don't have to fight each other just because you've maybe been divine enemies for a long time. That pattern doesn't have to continue. You know, that you can wish them well and not egg on their inner wounds, for lack of a better word, right? Their own self-insecurities about what they can create. and what they're capable of, right? That you would kind of leave them with this idea that they can do it, and you're not partaking in it anymore, you know. But to treat them with respect, even if they are disrespectful, because you in your character are a respectful person, you know. So hold yourself to high integrity, right? Hold yourself to a high standard, even if other people don't. You know, make sure that you're not stealing their energy or their peace on the way out, because that doesn't make you much better than them. You are not a thief. You are not an energy thief. That is their energy. That's where they are at. They're in high anxiety. They're in fear state. They feel like they have no other option but to take peace in order to obtain peace. But if that's not you, don't stoop to their level. You do not have to hurt them in order to not be hurt by them. Okay. Let's get you some guidance. Spirit, please, what is in the highest good for those who were drawn to Martin Luther King Jr.? Old soul. You have lived many lifetimes and gained wisdom beyond your years. Okay. It's card number 21. It says, you are an old soul who has lived many lifetimes, and you are starting to remember them. You have wisdom beyond your years. You have experienced from a soul perspective the best and the worst life has to offer. In this lifetime, you are being asked to use this wisdom for the greater good of all those you come in contact with. Your words are powerful. You say things that heal people on a very deep level without even realizing what you say. This card is asking you to reconnect to that sage within. You have lifetimes of experiences and wisdom that are beginning to emerge. And if you take time to connect with these hidden aspects of yourself, you will find that you have something of great value to share with the world. Notice when you are being called to do something new, perhaps something that you have never done before, but for some reason feel so much familiarity with, as if you have done it many times before. This is your sign, your official calling, that it is time to share your wisdom with the world. Right? Sometimes the only way to win a battle is to not fight it at all. Right? That would be the wisdom. If you've gone through lifetimes upon lifetimes fighting and losing with these energies, then maybe this time around there's something new. The wisdom that you're starting to lean into is the realization that you don't need to fight them at all. That they're not, the fight's not worth it. To repeat and perpetuate this karmic loop of feeling hunted by spiritually vampiric energies who would take from you. It's just not worth it to deal with them or insult them or incite them anymore. It's just not worth it. Right? And to release it with love. The intuitive life coaching questions that this card poses to you. What wisdom do you have to share with the world? Is there anything that is holding you back from doing so? Are you feeling called to do something new yet strangely familiar? And if so, what? Right. This kind of dives into that Leo energy too, you know, especially with the King of Wands, because the moon is there and it's being challenged with these aspects, right? With this full moon, I kind of went over it in the beginning, right? The full moon, the Sun and Pluto opposition to the moon in Leo. You can't let your pride get the better of you. You have to be able to think and act in integrity. What do you want to invest in? What is worth the investment, right? With that choice point with the nodes, what would create abundance in your life and perpetuate it from a very spiritual level, right? What would give you the greatest improvement? And it's leaving the battle behind, right? Choosing not to fight, choosing not to partake, choosing not to continue repeating this war, you know, with your spiritual adversaries, right? Who are only pushing you truly into higher alignment with yourself. And that's the culmination of your cycles with them, right? This is where the battle ends. And you can move forward into living a life that is post lifetimes of battle, where you can finally integrate peace and stability, right? And actually reap the reward of all of the work that you've put into this life, and not feel like you're going to lose it, or you know, have to look over your shoulder because someone's trying to take it from you, you know. That is Martin Luther King Jr. And last but not least, our final reading is Demeter. Now, Demeter, for those of you who do not know who she is Persephone's mother. Okay, she is the goddess of the seasons and agriculture. Okay. Now, what got her on our rebel list today, our legacy of rebels, is the fact that, you know, when Zeus gave Hades permission to take Persephone into the underworld as his wife without Demeter's knowledge, or even Persephone's permission, that she was just kind of stolen and kidnapped and taken down there, Demeter rebelled. She would not stand for the disrespect shown to her in Persephone, and literally went into a winter where she stopped everything from growing, and life on Earth was in a deep freeze, and she refused to bring it back to life until her daughter was freed, right? Ultimately, the conclusion was that Persephone would spend, you know, 3 months down in the underworld with Hades for each of the pomegranate seeds that she ate, but that she would ultimately be released for the other 9 months of the year and be allowed to, you know, spend her life above ground with her mother, right, with Demeter. And so, you know, the defiance and the rebellion against injustices is what truly does define Demeter, you know. And the whole time she was reasonable, you know, like Demeter did eat 3 pomegranate seeds while she was down there, you know, amidst trying to figure out the whole thing. And so she accepted that she wouldn't be able to stay, you know, with Persephone outside of the underworld indefinitely, that she would have to, you know, split time with Hades. But ultimately, you know, being reasonable and allowing for the judgment call to be made in the end without being completely unwilling to reconcile the situation, got her the end result. You know, she got a lot of respect from her defiance, and her power was, her use of it was justified, right? And I think that's what Demeter really represents, is the justification of using your own power and what is within your control in order to stand up against what is unjust and or disrespectful. That is Demeter. She's also Ceres in Roman mythology, and is tied to the dwarf planet Ceres that is, you know, hanging out in our asteroid belt. She is the largest luminary in the asteroid belt series. So that is what Ceres represents in your chart, by the way. The defiance of that, which is unjust, and how you can go through seasons in order to achieve justice. Where Ceres falls in your chart, that's what that energy entails. All right, so Spirit, please, what is in the highest good for those who are drawn to the reading Demeter? And I'm going to, you know, face the cards towards me initially just so I can get a feel for them. But then as I go through them, I'm going to face them towards you so that you can see what I was looking at. Okay. What do they need to know, please, Spirit? Those who are drawn to the reading Demeter. The Seven of Pentacles, I think, showed up in every single reading. All right, clarities, please. And one more. King of Pentacles is on the bottom. And the Prince of Chalices is on top. This reminds me of, it actually reminds me of Persephone, right? This maiden type energy who is sitting there and stopped to smell the flowers. She's got this Taurian kind of embellishment on her, on the skirt of her dress, and she's got doves around her, right? The divine. We've got these cherry blossoms in the background. Very much at peace, kind of minding their own business and enjoying the beauty of life, which ultimately leads to master manifestor energy with the King of Coin, right? Being in this energy, being in the gratitude of the now moment, the present moment, being at peace in the present is ultimately what manifests the high manifestation. Now, the cards here. We have the Magician with the Nine of Pentacles. The Three of Pentacles with the Ace of Wands. The Hermit card with the Tower. The Seven of Pentacles with the Knight of Swords. And the Ten of Chalices with the Knight of Wands. So looking at these cards, unbeknownst to you, you might not realize how you're manifesting the nightmare. Okay. With the Magician and the Nine of Wands. It's coming from what feels like telepathic or spiritual interference, that someone's trauma or someone's pain body is cycling through your head. And you might not realize how your perception or point of view about things, or your focus on the shadow energy, is actually manifesting bullshit for you. You might be focused on painting the perfect picture. You might be focused on what it is you have to do in order to create beauty in your life and allowing that to inspire you. But find yourself on a journey looking inwards because of a huge tower moment, right? It comes out of nowhere. I feel like this energy, you might be feeling it, but and thinking it's your own energy, your own nightmare state, or your own anxiety, when really it's someone else's in the reality. And because you're not discerning the difference, because you're not recognizing that it's not your energy, you're making it your own. I think that's why this tower ends up coming into play. And you have to do the inner work on why you would allow someone else's energy to interfere with you. It's almost like a voice inside your head that is telling you to worry or giving you anxiety. I feel like you feel you're being rushed. Like you want to create a really good job with whatever it is you're doing. You want to put your best into it, right? If you want to live your best life, it requires your best effort. If you want to have a healthy relationship dynamic, it's remembering the little details, right? And you're inspired by the pursuit of perfection, and other people's fear maybe of not being perfect might be interfering with your manifestation and causing the tower, right? I would recognize the quality of effort you put in and know that what you're putting in is more than exceptional, and that any fear you would have of not being good enough or not being perfect or not being efficient or whatever it is just someone else's fears impressing inside your psyche, that you're picking up on it. You're picking up on it. And dealing with the shock, right? Like, in a sense, if we were to take this back to the Persephone and Demeter type, mythology, Demeter might have known that she was doing her job wonderfully, like paying attention to all the details, doing what she always does. But maybe Persephone didn't feel like what she was doing was good enough. Maybe she didn't feel that she could shine as bright as her mother. Maybe she didn't feel like she could carry forward the legacy of her mother's power. And her own insecurities is what manifested the kidnapping, because she was never meant to follow in her mother's footsteps to a T. She was meant to create her own path. So you might be trying to hold up to the legacy of someone else, or someone else might be trying to hold up to the legacy of you. And there's a fear of not being perfect, not being good enough. And that creates towers. And so with the Knight of Swords being clarifying the Seven of Pentacles, if something isn't ready yet, right? Because these apples are green, they're not red, they're not ready to eat. She wants to eat them and be nourished by them, but the reality is, if it's not ready yet, it's not ready yet. If there is a different path that someone needs to take, then there's a different path. You can't force or rush the perfection of path and purpose. You know, the Ten of Chalices that comes in at the end, clarified by the Knight of Wands. You know, once we realize what our fulfillment is, the fire, the ignition is almost instantaneous. So if there's some kind of slow movement, or, you know, some kind of not feeling so passionate about what you're doing, or not knowing where you want to go with life, or whatever, in regards to you or anybody else, if you're patient and allow them to find themselves, or allow yourself to find your own path instead of walking the path of another, right? Standing in their shadow, which is essentially what you would do, right? You have to step out of their shadow in order to be inside your own light. And I think that's what that is. As soon as you allow yourself to step out of someone else's shadow, that you don't have to be good enough for them, or do what they want you to do, or be what they want you to be, but that you allow them to follow their own path, that you allow yourself to follow your own path, right? That is ultimately what is going to bring you the greatest fulfillment. Because yeah, Demeter is sad when Persephone is not around. She freezes over the winter every single time Persephone's gone. But Persephone really came into her power as the goddess that transcends time, space, reality, right? She lives eternally in the land of the dead and can move freely through into the land of the living, and understands as the only goddess that can actually move between the realms. It's an extremely powerful path and purpose, and it's very authentic and unique to Persephone. She couldn't stand in her mother's shadow if she tried, and she couldn't stay in the shadow of Hades if she tried, right? She was always meant to transcend both. You know, this is about getting out of the shadow and into your own light in order to find your fulfillment. You know, you can be inspired by what you need to do and your pursuit of perfection. Just know that it's going to take you to a very authentic place, a very unique place that, you know, it's a path no one else has walked because it's yours. So if you're going through a tower moment, it's because you're being pushed onto your authentic path and out of the shadow, whatever or whoever that shadow is. And you might need to communicate with that tower moment, or that breakdown or breakthrough moment, that you're going to be patient with yourself as you find your own fulfillment, right? As you pursue what fills you up and makes you feel good, right? Your wholeness, your life, the reason why you are here, and your life is important, right? To not deny the strength of your own power. To not allow yourself to be disrespected, right? Especially by your own accord, right? That you would choose to disrespect yourself by staying in the shadow of someone feeling not good enough. Maybe you are meant to break an ancestral cycle, right? Of living in the shadow of those who have come before you. What is the guidance, please, Spirit, for Demeter and those who are drawn to it? What is the guidance, please? Awakening. You are no longer letting people dictate and run your life for you. I shit you not. No longer letting people dictate and run your life for you. Card number 5. You are awake. You know who you are, what you want, what is most important to you, and how to achieve it. You know who you truly are on a soul level, and you are no longer letting people dictate and run your life for you. What was previously hidden is now out in the open, and you are seeing the world in a new way through your soul's eyes. Through this awakening, you have experienced many changes in your relationships. Try not to hold on to anything that is falling away at this time. As you continue to honor your soul's needs, you will shift the way you interact with others around you. Not only is this okay, but it is an important part of your soul's evolution. The key here is to trust your inner guidance and stay on your divine path. The veil has been lifted, and your awakened soul now leads the way for others to awaken their truth as well. This awakening is a guiding light and an inspiration for all those around you. The intuitive life coaching questions that this card poses to you. What is most important to you and why? Are you trying to hold on to something that is falling away and no longer serves you? What is preventing you from letting go? Right? You can't fail at your highest path and purpose. You can't botch it. You can't screw it up. You can avoid walking it for so long, and that becomes grossly uncomfortable. It causes a lot of anxiety, right, when you're living in the shadow of someone else. But when you step into your light and allow the family tree, right, the ancestral healing, so to speak, end with you, that you break it and heal it and step into your light, there's nothing more empowering than that. Right? When you respect yourself and your own unique path, that self-empowerment, this is where you start to see through the eyes of spirit and what spirit has divinely aligned for you, and allowing yourself to walk that path. If something is falling away or something, you're being met with resistance in the pursuit of someone else's path for you, there's a reason why you're being met with resistance or being blocked from it, and it's to free you. It's to free you from that cycle. You weren't meant to relive the karmic ancestral cycles of your family line. You were meant to start a whole new vibration outside of those wounds. So stay in the present moment. Take in the beauty of your life and your energy, and know that you are master manifesting hardcore. The more in alignment with your light that you are, the faster these changes will start to take place. It'll be like ignition, right? That fire ignition, you going after what is fulfilling for you once it clicks in. All right. That is Demeter. And with that, I just want to thank all of our beautiful channel members again, because, they keep this channel ad-free. I am not, demonetized by force. I'm demonetized by choice. I don't like ads interfering with the messages as they come through. So the members of this channel support my ability to do that. And I'm truly grateful for all of you who participate here as members. I'm sure that everybody else who gets to enjoy ad-free videos is grateful for you too. I will see you for intention candles tonight. Until we next meet, everyone, love and support to you always. Take care.